I think it's kind of going to be like in the lore of our podcast. It's going to be like the all too well 10-minute version where we'll
Correct.
like talk about it and be like, it's the missing first podcast.
Sorry, my alarm was going off because I tried to take a nap. Didn't.
Oh,
Oops.
oops.
I
Oopsie.
really tried.
What
I
did
got
you,
up way too early,
what time did you get up?
like 6:30.
Oh, that's quite early for a
Yeah.
Saturday.
And I went to bed at like 11:30 p.m.
Oh, that's late. So you should have slept longer.
And then I had okay, this is totally off topic and we can talk about it later, but I had the wackiest dreams last night. I had like 6 different dreams that I had to wake myself up from.
They were all nightmares, all scary.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so should we start our podcast now?
Yes. Sorry to like totally divert. I just like had to let you know why.
No, I'm glad. And like also this could make like really great bonus content.
Yes. Yes.
And if I figure out how to like cut this.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna start off with what are you reading? Then I think because it's only the first week of January, I think it warrants did you have a favorite or best book of 2023, which I know you did.
Yes, I did.
And then I thought it would be a good time to discuss what our 2024 reading goals maybe are.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that was just a review of the agenda.
Yeah.
And also, if you recall, I did put on the agenda chit chat. So
yeah. Okay. We just like mixed it around a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have other things for chit chat to talk about specifically.
Oh, okay. Well, great. I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you reading?
Okay, so this morning I just finished this book and I brought it with me home for the holidays and didn't open it once. Because I will get into later, my book reading went out the window for Christmas time. I just like could not read a book.
It was too busy.
Everything. I just like didn't love the books I was reading. But so I just finished The Burnout by Sophie Kinsella. And I started like furiously reading it.
Sophie Kinsella, writer of Confessions of a Shopaholic.
Yes, exactly. Which I used to love back when I was a youth. I love the Shopaholic books. And Beach Reads and Bubblies read this recently.
Yes.
So I got it from the Chicago Public Library. And I got a notification like 3 days ago that it could not be renewed and it was due today. And so I was like, okay, like I can either just like say whatever, or I could speed read this book. And I'm so glad I
get to work.
Yeah. And so I got to work reading it. It was really great. So
you started reading it. You started reading it yesterday and you're done.
Yes.
Okay.
I might have started it the day before yesterday, like in the evening.
Okay, law school.
But the day before yesterday, I was knitting. I was dedicated to my knitting.
Yeah.
And then I finished my mitten. And so I think I started the book.
Okay.
But yesterday, I did read it like basically all day. And then I woke up, as you know, at 6:30 in the morning. And then I finished this book.
Okay. Total page turner. Okay, great.
Yes. And then I need to go return it to the library today so that I'm not a bad Chicago Public Library patron.
Does the Chicago Public Library have fees anymore for late books?
They might, but I'm not quite sure.
The New York,
but I know the New York Public Library doesn't.
Okay, so
whatever. I'm trying to still be a good patron.
That is good. That's really nice of you. And if they're not letting you renew it, it means that like everybody wants to read it. Okay,
I know.
What's it about?
Okay, so this book is about a girl named Sasha, a young woman.
Okay.
She's in her 30s.
Okay.
And she has this job as a marketing something. She does something in marketing.
Is this book about me?
Yeah, I think it might be. And she is like very overwhelmed at work. She works at a new startup. And a lot of people are leaving because like the work is so chaotic. And so she gets like all their work. And like the very beginning of the book, she's like trying to talk to like the people above her to be like, I need help. We need to hire new people. And they're all like kind of gaslighting her. Like, you're being crazy. Like, you just need to like work on your like performance or something like that. And
Ooh.
in like a moment of clarity, she like dramatically quits. And then there's like a funny little bit that I'll keep to the readers to decide about that I don't want to quite give away. But then she's like, she realizes her doctor can prescribe her like 3 weeks leave or something. So she takes 3 weeks leave from her job
Okay.
and she works in London also. And she goes to like the seaside in like February, the winter, of an old place she used to go with her family.
Ugh.
This like what used to be this like really glamorous hotel that they would go to like once a year. And that would be like their splurge, was like
Say
going
no
to the
more.
hotel for
Say no
dinner.
more.
But it like turns out that like the hotel is kind of like really old now and only like 3 people work there. And
And
so
also
she's
it's the
like
winter.
in the winter, yeah, and it's the off season. And so she's like also like following this wellness plan that like is sort of silly, like do yoga every day, like
So silly.
meditate, eat. And she's like trying to follow it like strictly, but like of course she like doesn't follow it strictly. But then there's like a handsome, tall, dark and handsome man there who was like also there for like the same reason. And they may or may not start a romance. Will not say.
Mutual burnout romance?
Yes.
Oh,
Um, and it was just really sweet. And Sophie Kinsella is like, I guess she's considered like a comedic writer. So
yeah.
like there are some like pretty funny bits in there. Um, the ending was like a little silly, so I did not give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars,
Okay.
but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really great.
Okay, great. So you would recommend it
Yes, I would recommend for
to our listeners, to our followers.
listeners. Yes, it was really cute.
I'm still reading, still
Mm,
trying to get through Bleak House.
mhm.
I also talked about this on the Lost First podcast. Um, and I don't know if the reason why I haven't finished it is because I don't like it,
Mm.
but it's first of all, it's so long. Um,
How many
and
pages is it?
um,
How big is the font? Did you get the large print?
no, I did not get the large print.
Big.
It's 747 pages, and this is the font.
It's so small.
This is the UK version because I bought
Oh,
this in the UK.
the United Kingdom.
So I I read it because people that I work with really rave about it. And like, if you didn't know, I work at a bookstore. I manage a bookstore. Um, and it is like really like the descriptions that Charles Dickens gives of like any of the places, like London or any of the houses or the people are like so rich and like really, really good.
Mm.
But it is like super dense, and the time frame that it's set in is like like a confusing time. So I'm like constantly like rereading pages and being like, what happened?
Mm.
And then when people were telling me about the book, they were talking about things that happened as if they happen in like chapter 1. And I am this far through, so like more than halfway, and the
Mhm.
things they talked about just happened. So I was like reading it and I was like, am I an idiot? Like, am I missing these like critical things?
Mhm.
But as I shared in the last podcast, Bleak House is the story of a family that has had this like court case in chancery for decades. Like, the people that the case was like originally started the case are now dead, but it's like an infamous case that everyone in London or like in the courts knows about.
Mhm.
And then it's like very classic Charles Dickens because there are like orphan children and chimney sweeps and London fog. But it is like a interesting story and like a interesting timepiece into this time in London, like the 1800s. But what I started doing, and this is a part of what I'll share in our 2024 goals, is I started using Spark Notes because I was going on
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia and reading the summary, but the way Wikipedia summaries are written, they kind of like in like books like this long, they kind of give away things before they actually happen. They're like, oh, and then also this thing, and it's like, wait, that hasn't happened yet. And then I remembered that Spark Notes existed, and I was like, you know
Thought
what? I'm
about
just
that.
gonna read the Spark Notes, and it's been super helpful. And I've been trying to read 50 pages a day. And if I read 50 pages a day, I should be done with it by our next podcast. But it
By
is,
2025.
I will be done with it by the year 2025. But it's like good, but it's a real slog. And I have also been,
Maybe wouldn't recommend.
I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I think there's like, I bet someday someone will be like, I'm going to England and I'm going to be there for a month in February. What should I read? And I'll be like, I know.
Bleak
Bleak
House.
House. I'm getting really annoyed that I'm like starting books and then not finishing them. But I am also trying to embrace like, if you don't like it, don't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
In like a real life book, if you're 100 pages in and you're not into it, I think you should not finish it. And I think if you're like reading it on your tech, like Kindle or your phone, and you're like 25% through, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 30%, I think if you're like not feeling it, then you should, then I think that's the right time to.
Got it.
So that's like one of my reading goals is just to like get better and like more okay with being like, nope, that wasn't for me. I'm not going to finish it.
My goal was I want to read 40 books this year. And then I think I sort of want to start reading more like, not like self-help books, but like,
Wellness.
yes, wellness books. I want to say every month, but like, I don't know if that'll happen. So like maybe
Yeah.
one a quarter, perhaps.
Okay. Love.
I'm like, I either need to read them or get rid of them. And that brings me to my third goal, which is kind of like cleaning out my bookshelves. Of if I don't read the books on my bookshelves, maybe by the end of the year, like they're out of here.
Where are you going to take them?
I think just donate them.
Okay. So before we leave 2023 fully behind, before we close the book on 2023, what was your favorite, or like what did you think was the best book you read in 2023? It didn't have to come out in 2023, but like in 2020.
Okay. I did make a list.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I made honorable mentions.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I will start. Should I start with the honorable mentions or my whatever? We'll just start with my number one book.
Yeah.
That Joanie knows very well what my number one book was. And it was Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. Really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And it has become that when people don't like it, I do get offended when they don't
That
like
is
it.
like the best review someone can give for a book. If they're like, I loved it so much, and if you don't like it, you're hurting my feelings.
Yes.
Like,
And I will not name names, but there are some of my friends did not like it. And now I am hesitant to recommend it to people because I'm not looking for feedback. I don't want your thoughts because I am right about this book ever. I love it so much. Okay, what was your number one book, Joan?
I had the same thing as you, where like I made a list, which I did publish on Instagram. And happy to reshare here. So I think it was like really hard to pick like a favorite best book, but I will say like the book that after I read it that I keep recommending to people and I get like really excited when copies come into the bookstore is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi.
So good.
And this book was recommended and given to me by our grandmother, who has terrific taste in novels and books. Actually, she also is the one that told us to read Empire of Pain. So she's great for a recommendation. So this is her copy that she lent to me. And this is about,
Here's my copy.
oh, there's your copy. It's a generational saga, which I love. I love a saga.
Mhm.
And it follows sort of like the family that eventually comes from these two women who are sisters, although they never know that they're sisters. And it's each chapter like is a jumps in time to like different people that are connected to these like original two women in Ghana. And it is gorgeous and like heartbreaking and so beautifully written that I can't recommend it enough. So I think the provenance of where I got this, because our grandma recommended it.
Because
Plus
we are sisters.
we are sisters
At
who
the
read.
beginning of this.
Oh yeah, you're my sister. Um, and then like the story itself is so beautiful, genuinely a page turner. Um, I just think that was probably my favorite book that I read. Um, okay, so looking forward to seeing what you read next.
Yeah, you too.
And like if anyone wants to know anything about the books that we talked about, check the caption. We'll list all the books that we discussed and then go buy them at your local bookstore or check them out from your local library.
Local library.
Library. Return your books on time. And if you don't like them, don't finish them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's that. We don't have a sign off. We'll have to think of one.
Bye. See ya.
Bye. Have fun reading.
Bye.